Spanish words that end in O are supposed to be masculine, right? And Spanish words that end in A are supposed to be feminine, right? But then why is la mano feminine and el día masculine? Well, because Spanish, like all other languages, likes to keep things interesting. In this video, we'll learn the most common exceptions to the gender and agreement rules in Spanish. It might seem a bit confusing, but don't worry, we'll clear it all up. Vamos. Hola and welcome to Spanish with A Güero. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, well, subscribe so that you don't miss any classes. And while you're at it, why don't you give this video a like? So let's start with a quick review. Nouns that end in O are normally masculine, like el libro, the book, and el carro, the car. And nouns that end in A are generally feminine, like la casa, the house, and la mesa, the table. The article must match the noun in gender and number. El libro, singular and masculine. Los libros, plural and masculine. La casa, singular and feminine. Las casas, plural and feminine. But here's the catch. Not everything follows the rules. The majority of Spanish nouns that end in O and A do follow the OA rule, but not all of them. Let's look at the most common exceptions that you'll run into. So first, we have feminine nouns that end in O. There aren't many of these. The most common one is mano, hand. It is feminine. And so you say la mano, the hand, and las manos, the hands. Same with the other article. Una mano, a hand. Unas manos, some hands. Now, the only other nouns that end in O but are feminine are really abbreviations. We have la radio, but we only say la radio because radio is an abbreviation of radiodifusión, and that is feminine. So we say la radio, the radio. We say la foto, the photo. But we only say la foto because it's an abbreviation of la fotografía. La fotografía or la foto. We say la moto, the motorcycle, la moto. But we only say la moto because it's an abbreviation of la motocicleta. La motocicleta or la moto. So besides la mano, the only other nouns that end with O but are feminine are really just abbreviations of feminine words. But there are also masculine nouns that end in A. There are quite a few of these. The biggest group of words in this category are words that end in MA. These words end in A, but they are masculine. For example, we have el problema. It is not la problema, it's el problema. And the plural is los problemas. The problem or the problems. El idioma, the language. Los idiomas, the languages. El programa, the program. Los programas, the programs. El tema, the subject. Los temas, the subjects. El clima, the climate. Los climas, the climates. El sistema, the system. Los sistemas, the systems. El poema, the poem. Los poemas, the poems. It's the same with the other article. Un problema, a problem. Unos problemas, some problems, etc. The same with all of these other nouns in this category. Now, these are masculine nouns, even though they end in A, and so the adjective also must be masculine. To say the serious problem, we would say el problema serio. The adjective must end with O because even though the noun ends in A, it is masculine. El problema serio. Los problemas serios. El clima frío. El sistema complicado, etc., etc. All of these nouns are masculine, and so any adjective that you use with them must also be masculine. Most of the nouns in Spanish that end with MA are masculine. Not all of them, but most of them. Now, there are a few other nouns that end in A and are masculine, and there's really no pattern. We can't say it's NA or some other recognizable pattern. They just are. For example, we say el día, the day. The word día ends in A, but it is masculine. El día, los días. Un día, unos días. That's why in Spanish we say buenos días, good morning, or good day, buenos días. We don't say buenas días because even though it ends in A, it is masculine. Buenos días. El mapa, the map. Los mapas, the maps. Un mapa, a map. Unos mapas, some maps. It ends in A, but it's masculine. El planeta, the planet. Los planetas, the planets. Un planeta, a planet. Unos planetas, some planets. It ends in A, but it's masculine. So now you know the exceptions to the OA rule. There are some nouns that end in O but are feminine, and some nouns that end in A but are masculine. There are also some nouns that change their meaning as we change the gender. For example, we can say el capital or la capital. But if we say el capital or la capital, the meaning is completely different. El capital means the capital, as in money, and la capital means the capital, as in the capital city of a country or a state. We can say el cometa or la cometa. El cometa is the comet, and la cometa is the kite. We can say el cura or la cura. El cura is the priest, and la cura is the cure. We can say el coma or la coma. El coma is the coma, and la coma is the comma. We can say el corte or la corte. El corte is the cut, and la corte is the court. There are others. This is not an exhaustive list. There isn't enough time in this class to give you all of them, but these are the most common ones. The most common words where if you change the gender, it changes the meaning. And with that, you know most of the common exceptions to the OA gender rule. Now, let's talk about agreement between articles and nouns. This is where a lot of learners get tripped up. We know that the article must match the gender of the noun, even if the noun's gender is irregular. That's why we say la mano and el problema. The article also must match the noun in number, and that's why we say las manos and los problemas. However, there are some feminine nouns that take the masculine article. This one surprises people. Feminine nouns that start with A and have the stress on the first syllable take the masculine articles A and un to avoid two A sounds back to back. Now, this does not change the noun's gender. The noun continues to be feminine. It just takes the masculine article to avoid two A's back to back. That is why we say el agua, the water. You do not say la agua. You say el agua. Because if you say la agua, we have two A's back to back, and that doesn't sound very good. And so we say el agua, but agua is still feminine. We say el agua, the water, and un agua, a water. El alma, the soul. Un alma, a soul. But alma is still feminine. El águila, the eagle. Un águila, an eagle. But águila is still feminine. Now, as I said, this only happens with words that start with A and the stress is on the first syllable. If the stress is not on the first syllable, they do not take the masculine article. So, for example, alcantarilla begins with A, but the stress is not on the first syllable. And so we say la alcantarilla. We only say A if it starts with A and the stress is on the first syllable, as in agua, alma, and águila. El agua, el alma, el águila. But we only do this for the singular form. In the plural form, they take the feminine article. We say las aguas, unas aguas, las almas, unas almas, las águilas, unas águilas. We do this because in these cases, there are no two A's back to back because we have that S in the middle. And so we only do it for the singular form of these words. Now, as I said, even though we use the masculine article, they are still feminine. And so any adjective that you use with them must be in the feminine form. You say, el agua fría, un agua fría. El alma humana, un alma humana. El águila majestuosa, un águila majestuosa. You use the masculine article to avoid two A's back to back, but you use the feminine adjectives because the noun is still feminine. And that's pretty much all there is to the exceptions to the gender rules. Gender rules in Spanish can seem like a mystery, but once you learn the patterns and the exceptions, it all becomes a lot easier. And now that you know the tricks, well, gender and article, noun, adjective agreement in Spanish won't catch you off guard again. And that's our class for today. I hope you enjoyed this class and that you found it useful. If you still haven't subscribed to the channel, well, subscribe so that you don't miss any more classes. Also, make sure to give the video a like and click on the little bell so that you'll receive a notification every time a new video comes out. Here I have a couple videos that also might be helpful for you. I'll see you in the next class.